Today we are going to be making these luscious vegan brownies. These are gluten-free, oil-free, and also made without chocolate, so we use carob instead. And believe me, you cannot taste the difference. So stay tuned for the recipe, and at the end there is a mukbang as well. So first off, we are going to start with some flaxseed meal. We are going to need 2 full tablespoons of this along with 8 tablespoons of water. This is going to be for our flax egg that we are going to use for the recipe. We are going to mix this all up and then let it sit for about 5 to 8 minutes. This is going to be our binder for the recipe in the batter. So once that is nicely mixed, we are going to set it aside. And next up is the carob powder. I get this brand on Amazon. It is medium toasted, but we are going to toast it some more so that it gives us the taste of actual chocolate. So you're going to want to toast 1.5 cups of this in a pan. You're going to want to toast this on low to medium because the carob powder can burn very easily and you don't want any burnt taste in your brownies. I was so excited when I found this alternative to chocolate that tastes so similar. I never thought when I quit eating chocolate that I would find something that would satisfy me the way that chocolate used to. You're going to want to toast this carob to the point that it gets to the same color as like a cocoa brown, just like cocoa powder would have. You're going to want to continuously move this around so that it doesn't burn at the bottom. So as you see, I'm using my wooden spoon here to constantly mix this up. I would suggest not stepping away from the stove while you're doing this, just to be sure that you don't burn it. And as you can see, I'm speeding this up here. This takes about 10 to 12 minutes to do. And this is the color that you want it to be. Next up, we are going to use some oats to make oat flour. If you already have oat flour, you can skip this step, but we will be using 3/4 cup of oat flour for this recipe. So we will start off by combining all of the dry ingredients. So first off, we have the oat flour, and next up we will also use 3/4 cups of the carob powder. And next up, we will be using some aluminum-free baking powder. You're going to need 1 teaspoon of this. And next up, we have some powdered vanilla. This is whole vanilla. So 1/2 teaspoon equals 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. And then we are going to mix up all of these dry ingredients together. After we heated the carob powder, it could get a little bit crumbly. So if you'd like, you can blend it up if you really want a smooth and fine texture, but it doesn't bother me. So that's why you see me smashing the little bits down here. But once we're done with that, we'll set that aside and start on the wet ingredients. So next up, we are going to get some organic coconut sugar, 1 cup of that, and then we are going to take 1 cup of coconut milk and let it simmer. This helps remove a little bit of that coconut taste, and it also melts the natural fat so that it becomes a liquid. While that cools off, we are going to add 2 tablespoons from that flax egg that we made earlier. As you can see, it's pretty thick, and we won't be using the rest of this, so we're going to set that aside. Once the coconut milk has cooled a little bit, we don't want it scorching hot. You're going to put 1 cup into the bowl, and then we are going to mix this all together. You could use a whisk for this if you'd like. I'm just using a small wooden spoon, but then you'll notice that I want to blend it a little bit better, so I switched to a whisk, and that was much, much better because sometimes the coconut could clump up a little bit as well. Next up, we are going to pour our wet ingredients into our dry ingredients, and you're going to want to mix this until the batter is completely blended together. The thing I love most about vegan batters is that you can eat as much of the batter raw as you like, and you don't have to worry about getting sick. And next up, we are going to make the chocolate that we are going to add into the batter. Most brownie recipes, if you want them nice and super soft or even gooey when you make them, you're typically going to add some chocolate chips. So I don't have any chocolate chips, so we're going to make our carob chocolate. You'll need 1/2 cup of the carob that we toasted earlier, 1 cup of raw cashews, 3/4 cup of pure maple syrup, and of course you see me putting this all in a blender, so you will be needing a blender for this one. And even though you're going to see me only put 1/2 cup of water, go ahead and do a full cup of water. I had to add a little bit more later. And then we are going to blend this all up. I'm using my Vitamix high-speed blender. And it'll taste good just like this, but I'm going to add some vanilla to this as well. It will be the same thing. 1 teaspoon of vanilla. I'm going to use 1/2 teaspoon because it's vanilla powder. Some of this we will be using in the actual brownies, and some of it we will be layering on top for some extra chocolate. This is the consistency and texture you want. As you can see, I'm going to taste it. But we are going to be putting a whole cup of this chocolate into the brownie batter. And by the way, you can use this carob chocolate recipe and add it on anything from pancakes to any other type of desserts or even just eating it on its own. Just don't go crazy. Next up, we are going to add this cup into our batter and mix it all together. The texture of this is really like a melted chocolate. Next, I'm going to grab my spatula and I'm going to fold this chocolate basically into the batter, just like how you would if you had chocolate chips. Once you're done with that, you're going to line an 8x8 pan with parchment paper, and then we are going to pour the batter into the pan and make sure it is nice and level and even. And then you're going to place this in an oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. And this is going to cook in the oven for 30 minutes. Before I put it in, I just make sure that I spread it out evenly to all of the edges, and then I'll show you what the texture looks like close up. One thing I wanted to add is that before you put it in the oven, you can sprinkle some coconut sugar on top and it'll give it that shiny, crispy brownie look and topping that most brownies have. Those snippets were from the first versions I made, but I didn't do that for this one, so this is what mine looks like coming out. I'm taking off the parchment paper so that I can let it cool down much quicker, but you don't have to do that if you like serving yours really hot. I personally love serving mine hot when I have mine with some vanilla and ice cream. And this part is optional. I'm adding some extra chocolate on top just because I like a little bit extra, but it tastes just fine without it. So here it is, y'all. I know it looks so simple, but it's so good. Here I'm cutting it up into pieces, and I was experimenting with some maple butter. I actually made some, which was quite the task, but also super simple at the same time. I'll have a whole nother video for this coming up soon, but it is absolutely amazing. So I just put a few doppels on the brownies to try with it, and it added just another layer of richness to it. But like I said, it's not necessary because, as I mentioned before, these taste really good without the frosting or the maple butter. And that is all for this recipe. I hope you enjoy. Stay tuned for the mukbang if you like. Hey you guys, so I made some brownies last night, and guess what? There is no chocolate in them. How do you make brownies without chocolate? I made them with carob. If you've never heard of carob, you should. Chocolate has a bunch of things in it that affect the adrenal glands, hair loss, all this other stuff. So we don't do that. But carob is actually made from a plant as well. And when you toast the dried carob, it tastes just like chocolate. It's crazy. Like, you can't tell the difference. When I've served it to people before, they can't tell the difference. So anyways, I made these brownies last night. Of course, my boyfriend ate a bunch, so some of this missing. I only had one. I just had to taste it because I tried something new. You see those like little drops on there? That's like maple butter. Your girl made maple butter last night. I'm gonna heat a little bit up because I want to taste test a little bit for you guys on camera. Of course, Kyrie's making all the sound effects in the background. And I'm gonna put it in my little cast iron, my little baby cast iron. Isn't this so cute? I just love it. I'm waiting for them in the oven. I'm super excited. Okay, you guys, they low-key kind of melted a little bit. I had to put like some more maple on it. This is them. So good. Kyrie's like laughing over there while he's eating his blueberries. So here it is. There's some maple butter kind of like all throughout there, but all right, Kyrie's chill. Okay, here we go. There's just like a little bit of a frosting on top. Mind you, these are the next day and they're still so good. They're very rich as well. I kind of want to do some like maple butter blondies or something next. I can't believe I made maple butter. It was so hard to do. It's the easiest, hardest thing to make. It's literally one ingredient, right? Maple syrup. But you're sitting there stirring for 30 minutes straight. Okay. Here goes my second one. So here we go. Oh. It's so rich, dense, and
The maple butter on top just adds an extra flavor to it. It's really good without the frosting and the maple butter. Y'all, that was so good. Sorry, there's a lot of parts I had to cut out because my son was acting crazy. Anyways, I know you guys are gonna love that recipe.